Hey, Ryan, why don't you pull up Amazon's margins real quick?
Well, yeah, I'd have more of a grin on my face than Stephen Hawking on Epstein's Island.
I'm off as a smug cock when you said that.
Wow, fiscal philosophy, you're not very smart at all. You screw up, cash flow kings. Dissector, you are an idiot.
Hello, everybody. It's Saturday. It's 8 p.m. Eastern. Not right now, at least, but when you're watching this, it will be Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And unfortunately, I'll potentially be gambling away half of my portfolio on a few UFC fights and maybe some blackjack.
Talk about things you could be doing Saturday at
things.
8 p.m. Eastern.
I know. I'm doing the things that you could be doing at Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Some things that are not legal in the United States are legal where I'm going. But welcome back, everybody. It is Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and it's the best place to be every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I'm not following that rule, obviously, but Fiscal, what are some things you could be doing that Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern that I may or may not be doing?
I mean, you could be gambling away your life savings on some blackjack, potentially. You could be
it's not
going out
you're going to win.
For some brewskis, especially if you're in a country where that's legal under 21. It's especially bad if you do that.
Yeah, also, I would never do that.
Yeah. You might find some ladies of ill repute at those casinos, potentially.
Ooh,
I've heard they hang out there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know anything about that. Just saying. I've heard things. Yeah. People tell me things.
Fiscal stays to online gambling.
Suffice it to say, there's a lot of things you could be doing other than watching Cashflow Kings live at 8 p.m. Eastern that are not as good a return on your investment.
And guys, I'll keep it 100. If you are a channel member right now, you could be getting some exclusive members-only photos from that night. So you're gonna want to. If you aren't already a channel member, you're gonna want to be a channel member. While we're on the topic of channel members, I just uploaded this week 2 new members-only videos on a few of the holdings that I kind of not talked about a whole lot recently. It's Target and Starbucks. With Starbucks, I kind of give an updated look at my thesis and just go deeper into some of the topics that we cover on here. Like I talked about how I think the app isn't really, as good as it could be compared to competitors, at least. And then with like Target, I just talked about like it's just not the greatest business, I think, and where I'd like want to get out. So if that intrigues you, if you're a channel member, go check that out. But $2 a month, the best $2 you could possibly be spending.
Indeed. So,
what Fiscal?
A week it's been, huh?
So, hey, the week is still ongoing. Currently, as we record this, the market is down like 2% today. I don't know about you, but I did some indexing and chilling. I averaged in today.
I haven't really done anything. I'm just I'm not taking any actions really right now, day to day. I noticed Amazon is heavily down. It's down bad. It's down
5%.
Like 5%. Yeah.
That's still like $200. I mean, it's not bad in the grand scheme of things. We were buying it at like 180, 170. So I remember a time where Amazon was at 161.
Yeah, that wasn't too long ago, and we were buying back then.
We were real man's investors, one could say.
If you weren't, it sucks to suck, right?
I know. Yeah, you could be.
Yeah.
Like some other stocks.
Yeah, there's some other stocks that are down. I mean, Grab is another one of mine that had it had a big run up because it had good earnings, and then it's had a small, not as much as Amazon. It's like 1.5% down or something today, but just a little bit of a sell off after a big earnings day where they did really well, and so a bunch of people FOMO bought, and then other people sold. I guess.
Did you see all the pharma stocks? All the pharma stocks are they're down because RFK Jr. is back. All like really the pharma and the like Pepsi and Coke are selling off now because everybody thinks that he's gonna make them go bankrupt or something.
Oh man, here's all I'll say: most of those companies they've been around a long time before RFK and have probably seen worse, and they'll probably be around long after RFK is in the ground. Because he's up there in years.
It's National Chess Day. Put down the seed oils and put up the barbell. He is jacked, though. You got to give it to him. Whether
That's
he's
true.
natty or
That's
not,
true.
that's
Hey,
not something you can debate.
TRT is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, for sure. Channels members only. But the topic we wanted to indulge into to start off the episode was this week there was some controversy amongst the high tide community. Now, the high tide community really doesn't like whenever we. I should probably close our DMs there on the bottom. Members only. Members only. But high tide community doesn't like when we don't talk about it, so we'll get into it quick here. But Roger Grover did sell some shares this week, and Fiscal, I don't know about you, but not many CEOs like Jeffrey Bezos would go on Twitter and literally explain why they sold, even if it's a little bit of some private information.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. The reason Raj gave was for basically he's expecting to owe a good amount in personal income taxes. And so in order to meet those obligations, he decided to sell some shares, right?
Yeah, and he's in Canada
And-
too, so he's got to
Yeah.
pay out like 80% of his income in
He's
taxes.
got to pay for that free Canadian healthcare.
Yeah.
Right. But actually taxes are one of the most common reasons why insiders sell stock, even if the company's doing well. And it's just nice that when the information came out that he did, like, he came right out and just point blank said why he was doing it, and that really he still believes in the valuation of the company. And he actually I think he said in there that earlier in the year he had actually bought more shares than what he's selling today. And he's just selling like what he has to in order to make his payment to Canada's version of Uncle Sam, whoever that is. Uncle Trudeau, I guess.
Uncle Justin. He's basically said I'd like to address the speculation going on because there's like, you guys know how big of a community high tide is. It's not that big. Like any kind of feedback you get just anything that's small, it gets just blown out of proportion. The proceeds from the sale were a meaningful personal tax. The first time he's ever had to sell a lot of high tide, and it was only 2% of his position, which I mean it's a lot, but it's not at the same time. Like,
yeah,
2% of his holding. I mean, it's a small cap, so obviously he's going to get.
All right, let's put that into perspective. I have exactly 100 shares of Amazon. That would be like somebody making a big deal out of me selling 2 shares.
Yeah.
Is that
shares
really
of
a big
Amazon?
deal?
It's tanking 10% the next day.
Is
I
that
don't know how
really
much high tide. I don't think it's sold. I think it's sold off like maybe 6 or 7% off of the news. Like nothing wild. I know that I bought some this week. Actually, like where it's priced in at now, like 261. I was buying. But yeah, I mean, if he posted this on, let's see, November 11th. On November 11th, high tide was okay. So it was down like 3%, maybe 5% from then. So
the thing you have to keep in
crazy.
mind, though, small things move the price a lot because
I know,
it's
yeah.
small cap, and like the trading volume is pretty low day to day. Like if you look at how many shares actually get traded on an average day, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's like a 200,000 shares maybe total.
I mean, in a world where we can make a high tide round table and the stock goes up like 6 or like 30 or 40% corresponding it. I mean, that's kind of off of like 800 views, you know.
The CFK
obviously
bump,
the CFK bump, yeah. But yeah, he's reaffirmed that he believes the current price is significantly lower than our reasonable value and will continue working towards demonstrating execution. And I thought he was going to say communicating value.
I was so worried he was going to say communicating value.
And I have no plans to sell more shares. Sell more shares for the foreseeable future. Last week's sales were short-term financial. So I mean, that's pretty cool for him to do because, like, I mean, he doesn't have any obligation to disclose why he sold the shares. For all we know he wanted to go to Vegas, spend it on blow, right? Like,
yeah, like he's right. He's under no obligation to explain. Like, obviously, they have to disclose that they do sell like within a certain amount of time. But yeah, as far as like explaining themselves in that much detail, they're absolutely under no obligation. And most CEOs do not.
Yeah.
I mean, they on the flip side though, if they buy, they'll tell you up and down why they still believe in the company and why it's great and why they're buying. Like Pat Gelsinger still buys Intel stock every quarter.
Just so he doesn't get fired. That's why he doesn't.
You can't fire me. I own too much stock. Yeah. It's interesting though. Like it seems, I think like every quarter he buys like 250 grand worth or something, or I keep seeing him do these like $250,000 buys, which compared to what he's paid is probably not a lot, but
Yeah.
Another
company this week that is doing pretty well that we both own is Disney. They recently reported some pretty quality earnings, showing more profitability. Good times for Disney. I wish I would have bought a little more, but I'm officially in the positive. And when you bought at 180 like I did, that's a big milestone.
I'm legitimately, I'm a little irritated that it's gone up so fast because I was trying to get to 100 shares before it got over $100 again, and I'm at 60 shares. Like I'm way short of that.
Who knows? Maybe Trump says something bad, or like I know some of the actors in the new Snow White film were mad about that Trump got elected, and they were saying some stuff on their social media. So maybe
I will go a little too woke again, and it'll get a little dumb.
Yeah, maybe.
Very fun.
Some of the big takeaways: revenue increased 6% from quarter four to $22.6 billion. Diluted earnings per share increased 79% from the year before. Now, obviously, you got to keep in mind, like Disney was not, blowing the barn out a year ago, and they're kind of returning to like pre-pandemic norms now. So this is going to look insane relative to where they're at. So, but still quality.
Yeah, we have to assume
regardless.
That any big jumps that they make over the next couple years, those are not going to be sustainable growth rates. Those are going to be like them like kind of overcorrecting to get back to kind of a normal pace. And that after a certain point, it'll fall back off to something more sustainable.
The entertainment segment operating income improved significantly to $1.1 billion. This guy that made it on Twitter, Wasteland, will give him his credit. Don't want the Cash Flow Kings to get sued. He says there's more room to cut, to be honest, dead weight. Entertainment DTC delivered 14% ad revenue growth in quarter four, contributing to $253 million in operating income. While we're on the topic of like ad streaming and stuff, I just want to say how pissed I am of how impossible it is to watch sports now, because they make it so exclusive to like 5 different streaming services. It's just a complete pain in the ass, and it's annoying.
Like, is it because like one of them has a deal with ESPN, one of them has a deal with the NBA, one of them has a deal with the Big Ten or whatever?
Yeah, so I'm referring to NHL. It's NHL's like, so to watch the games of my team, I have like Fubo, which is MSG. Then if I want, then like every other game, every couple games, it's like TNT game. Then it's ESPN Plus game, and there's another one that's mixed in. It's just such a pain in the ass.
So you basically need like 8 different streaming services just to watch your
sport. If you want to do it the legal way. Yeah.
Does anybody still just like go to like sports bars and like just sit down and like order a drink and just watch the game there? Is that might be cheaper?
I know. Yeah, it's maybe for like, I don't know. I don't care that much about it's still a pain in the ass though. Because last night I was just like going from streaming service to streaming service, and it's just. And then the NFL made a playoff game like Peacock exclusive, and it's just like so stupid. Like if you want to grow your sport, it's from a business perspective, it's good, I guess, because you're gonna get subscribers. It's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly. The price, if you like want to have all of it, is starting to look a lot more like cable TV used to.
Yeah, once again, if you want to do it the legal way. The new movies they released over the summer, Inside Out 2 and Deadpool, did really good in the box office. That's not any giant new news. Sports segment operating income was $0.9 billion, a decline of $0.1 billion. Experiences revenue increased $0.1 billion or 1%, and the operating income of $1.7 billion was a decline of 6%. It also did mentioned that they had some damage from the hurricanes, so not bullish there. 2025, they raised guidance, I believe, as well. 15 billion in cash provided by operations, and then 8 billion of expenditures. So this guy came up with the $7 billion in free cash flow number that it's looking towards. So that's definitely positive. That was one of the biggest things that they were looking for this year and next year, pretty much, is just free cash flow and profitability.
Sure. Now with the parks, do you think that some of that is because maybe they went a little bit too crazy with the price hikes to turn people off?
So I've never been to Disney, but I've heard. I think you've talked about it, like the Disney adults and like the people that kind of like addiction, like that reoccurring revenue or whatever. I don't see how that would be. I feel like they'd be willing to spend anything, but I mean, I could see it for sure. Like, I think
the really dedicated people, they'll probably go even if the price gets raised another 5-10%, whatever. But I think at a certain point, you've priced out the people that are maybe considering it as an option for their one yearly family vacation or whatever. Like if Disney is, let's say for the sake of argument, to take the family to Disney would be like $5,000, but then there's like another option somewhere else where like Universal, they could do it for like 3,000. Like, is Disney that much better than Universal where you're gonna
go for a
as a
hike
family, like an average middle class family, pay that much more if you get your one vacation that year and like you have to spend your money and time wisely? Yeah. And by the way, those aren't real numbers. The actual number to go to Disney, depending on the size of your family, is probably actually a lot more than that. Yeah. But that was just for the sake of making a point.
Yeah. So also they targeted dividend growth, free money basically there. 3 billion in buybacks. I mean, that's good especially if they get those at a reasonable price. Like, I mean, relatively, if we're looking at their fair value being around like, I don't know, 150 around there, that general range, I think you're still on a pretty good range. Get some quality buybacks there. Streaming profits, good to see as well. Something that they're second quarter, I think, consecutively they've had some profitability in streaming, so good to see. Okay, here's the damage of the hurricane. 6 to 8% segment operating growth of experiences compared to 2024. 130 million lost due to hurricanes Milton and Helene. 90 million due to the Disney Cruise Line costs. So I mean, that's interesting because I'm sure the costs associated with like booking the cruises, and I don't know. I'm not a
I mean, they would have to, if you think about it, like the ships, they like and I don't know if this is what they mean, but they've probably been slowly re-ramping up like cruises since COVID, and a lot of the ships, if they've been like sitting, not getting used for a long period of time, they probably have like some deferred maintenance and cleaning and stuff that needs to be done on the ships to like get them ready for guests again. So that's probably pretty expensive. I mean, those are big ships and you can't do any of that cheaply, I would think. So,
yeah. Analysts have a low target on Disney of $95, consensus average median target of like 135, and a high target of 263. We're gonna get to 263. Mark my words. My $180 Disney buy from like 4 years ago is gonna end up really well.
Is the high target.
Yeah, we'll get there. Trust me.
Okay, I trust you, bro.
And then they're assuming double-digit EPS growth in 2026 and 2027. So bullish times for Disney, it appears.
Of course.
But yeah, that I feel like that window kind of that closed quickly. I would have liked to buy a little more.
I was definitely hoping for more time to accumulate, because I think in the 90s and 80s, it was definitely a solid deal for what you get when you buy Disney, for sure.
Oh, this is funny. While we're on the topic of streaming on Twitter, Joseph Carlson. So tonight there's a boxing match between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson.
Yep.
On
Everybody's
Netflix.
heard
Are
about
you gonna
this one.
watch it? Are you gonna watch it?
What? I don't even know what time it is.
It's at like 8 p.m. Eastern, Friday.
Well, that'll depend on if I want to like take a half day off work.
I see. So Joseph Carlson's coming up with some commentary. Who's gonna win the fight? Most likely Jake Paul. He's not a terrible fighter, and of course, age is a huge factor here. But Tyson has a chance if he can use his experience. I commented quality boxing analysis, Joseph, and he's saying that he's going to become a full-time boxing analyst. So could Joseph Carlson come on the Cash Flow Kings maybe one day for some boxing analysis? I don't know.
I think he might have been being sarcastic.
I know. I was I was
you were
laughing
too,
at some of
to
the.
be fair.
Yeah. No, but yeah, fun times. That's interesting though, like having more exclusive events like that, because I think it's gonna. I don't know if have you ever watched like a full boxing event?
So yeah, I watched. Geez, this is gonna definitely remind people of how old I am, but I saw. Do you have you ever heard of a boxer named Arturo Gatti?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a few fights with this Irish boxer named Mickey Ward. I saw the third fight. Like they had basically, I think it was a thing where they kept having like they had like two fights that were like pretty close, and so like the third one was supposed to be the one to
Yeah.
like kind of settle who was the best or whatever. And then of course I saw Arturo Gatti get clapped by Floyd Mayweather in a completely one-sided. He retired after that.
The thing with I'm hoping they fix this, but there's so much fluff in the shows. It's just like,
Yeah,
you can never get to the main event. It's like 5 hours. You got an ad every 5 minutes. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, they used to have like a lot of boxing you could watch for free on like Showtime and stuff like that, and that's usually where I would see the fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about Starbucks because I have a very real concern with my holding. So you know how the Starbucks app is a big part of my thesis.
Yep, you've talked up the app in the past.
Okay, so I'm worried that their deals are like significantly worse than like other restaurants. Like they don't offer you any deals. So like I'll use the example here with Tim Hortons.
Mhm.
So Tim Hortons, they offer you like 5 or 6 deals a week on the app. So it's like it's pretty much for every aspect of their menu. So like you can get a half off coffee, you can get half off donuts, whatever, right? They offer you like 5 or 6 different deals. So like it kind of gets you coming back, and they're like actual good deals too. Starbucks doesn't offer you any of that. If you're lucky, you'll get like a half. You can get buy one, get one half off, once a month.
Sounds like one of them gives you value, the other one tries to communicate value.
It's just like, I don't know. I found myself not going to Starbucks a lot recently just because like the value it's not good.
Yeah.
And I'm just worried. I understand people are addicted to it. Maybe I was at one time. I won't disclose that. But like, it's just like, I don't think the app I think they're losing out potential with, I don't want to say they're just being really really petty with not decreasing prices, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does make sense. I mean, but I guess one of the questions I have is one, like I honestly like, okay, I get where you're coming from with the app, but there's two things that I think are maybe even more important with Starbucks as somebody who's watching it from afar at this point. So one is they have a fresh CEO, like freshly minted. He's not been in charge for very long. And two, we have a not very China friendly administration coming in, and a big aspect of Starbucks and their growth plan, at least prior to the new CEO, what we had heard was China is important. So, I mean,
I love China.
I mean, do those two things do those worry you a similar amount to like, is it the whole picture kind of? You're looking at the app now, maybe with new eyes, you're looking at that. Like, are those things weighing on you like as a combined thing, or is it more just the app that you're worried about?
I think that I've always kind of understood the China risk, and I the next few years are going to be kind of big for it.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a lot of potential with China. It's just more about the execution at this point. So
Well,
I mean,
you don't think that like if there's like a trade war, tariffs, retaliatory tariffs, things like that, you don't think that could hurt things with their plans to keep growing in China?
jeez, I feel like they're gonna really be petty with like holding on to the China hopes. I think they understand how much growth is expected there. I think it would take a lot for them to get out of
I mean,
China.
I personally like, hey, if I was that worried about it, I wouldn't have Alibaba, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not that worried about China. I mean, it's more worrying under a Trump administration than a Harris administration, I think. But even still, like, I think ultimately we're still going to do business. I think.
Yeah.
It's gonna find commerce will find a way. I think, but
It's
I don't
just
know.
a little worrisome how reliant they are on it, though.
Yeah. I also, though, I think that maybe like the big share price jump they got from the new CEO, I think it's maybe a little overblown.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. The fundamentals just aren't like underlying with it, which is why I've not been so.
Are you up, by the way, overall? Like,
I've been up. Yeah.
I mean, are you considering possibly making an exit and looking for greener pastures?
I gave the members only video for the cash lookings. I did give the price. No, I'll say it. I would start trimming if it hit like 120. I'd say honestly.
Yeah,
I think it's a strong hold right now.
Where is it at right now? Because I don't.
It's at 100.
Follow it
I think it's like 100 even. It's just been trending kind of like 95 to.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's tough because I definitely think a 100 is probably a solid like 20 to 25% overvalued, to be honest, based on fundamentals.
Yeah,
So
based on
I have
fundamentals, absolutely.
I have like, especially if you're starting to worry about some of because the market's forward looking, right? So if you're worried about it and then the next quarter is another disappointment, the market may also really start to worry about it again. And you could see it back at 75 again,
Hey, I wouldn't complain. I mean, I think if it got back there, I'd be happy to load up more.
Okay. All right. Just make sure it's not falling knives method.
If it got there, if it got back to the 70s with the new CEO, and if his plans all come to fruition, I'll take it. Oh, did you see that HIMS was down a whole lot this week?
Yeah.
I saw Dividend Dude was panicking about it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, somebody I saw, some of that back and forth, and somebody was like, well, if you think HIMS has a moat, then maybe they can compete with Amazon and stuff. But it's like, if Amazon can just come in and do exactly what they do and take market share from them like this, do they have a moat? Probably not.
Amazon's like Thanos, dude. They're crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Amazon definitely has a moat in terms of like overall e-commerce. And the thing is that they can go horizontal into almost any category with that distribution network that they have. And what are you going to do? You can't build a better distribution network than Amazon quickly enough to counter it. Because they've been building it since like 1999 and spent hundreds of billions of dollars doing so.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. I probably I think HIMS maybe has like a good brand, and like the service that they offer is interesting, and they do have that like first movers advantage. I think they got all over that category first, And so maybe they do carve out a niche that's
Yeah.
sustainable in the market. But oh boy, if I was them, I would be sweating bullets about Amazon coming for heck,
I know.
honestly, like the fact that Amazon is going hard into this sort of on-demand pharmacy type situation makes me glad that I just took my damn loss on Walgreens.
I know.
Like
I
they're Walgreens, CVS, anything like that. Like, man, I think it's just a matter of time before Amazon just devours the whole thing.
You think grocery stores would be in trouble with the Whole Foods thing, or is that a little less
Nah,
relaxed?
no.
Yeah, it's
Honestly,
gonna.
like I still like to go to the grocery store and like pick out my own produce and meat and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I'm not yet at
that
the point.
Kroger holding though. I got out of it. It's
Actually, it's funny because I think those are the retail pharmacies that'll stick around. Like,
yeah,
because Kroger grocery stores have most of them have a pharmacy department. Walmart has a pharmacy. I think those will stick around, but I think like a standalone pharmacy where you can also buy like a bottle of Mountain Dew while you're like getting like an
yeah,
overpriced bottle of Mountain
yeah,
Dew while you're waiting for your diabetes medication. I think
yeah,
that I think that's probably going the way of the dinosaurs. Like I don't think that your Walgreens and your CVS like freestanding are really serving like a real purpose in the market anymore.
yeah.
Um Now CVS does have their lower footprint like pop-up thing inside of Target that they do.
Hmm.
I could see that being a good thing because Target maybe doesn't want to be directly involved in the pharmacy business. Like it's just not
Yeah,
what they do. They want to stick to real. But if they've got space in their stores where they can like have like a deal with their CVS, puts that they can both benefit from that.
you think Target? How do you think Target's gonna pan out? You think that's gonna stay around?
So I still occasionally like going into Target. Um,
Yeah.
they generally speaking, it feels nicer than going into a Walmart on average.
Yep. You don't feel like you're about to be violated.
And a lot of the stuff they sell feels slightly higher end compared to some of the stuff they sell at Walmart. Granted, a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff is directly comparable,
Hmm.
but overall, I generally enjoy the atmosphere more
Yeah.
inside of a Target. But I do get annoyed that the socks are locked behind like glass cases.
That's a little obnoxious now.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're saying Merry Christmas again at Target. Have you seen it? They're saying Merry Christmas because your favorite president's back. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. I definitely think Target has they have their niche in
I
retail.
think it's
So
also really interesting that have you seen that they're so they've been decreasing prices on items and just hoping that the quantity that they sell makes up for any loss that they'd be taking on it. And it's
I
actually been
don't.
working.
It has been working.
Yeah, it's been working.
That's good. That's good. I was gonna say like my initial impression would be if they're not like the discount place, like that might not be the approach, but if they can still like have seem as nice on the
Yeah.
inside of the store and not have like a reduction in the quality of the experience because their prices have gone down a little bit, then by all means. But I think if they start like having to cut corners, the stores start to get run down because their margins aren't as good, and so they can't afford to
Yeah.
keep it looking nice in there. I think that would be a problem.
Other retailers have been following that strategy too. That's why
Yeah.
Starbucks really need. I'm telling you, dude. I want to get to this point. Do you think Starbucks? How I want to do a series on Starbucks and like and just a long video of how I would completely reinvent the business if I were in charge. I
Yeah.
think that'd be an interesting topic. How would you go? I'd assume you'd be in favor for cutting prices because it's just obnoxious what it's at right now.
Yeah. So I mean, I've probably mentioned this before, but like I almost never go to Starbucks.
Yeah.
The last time I went to Starbucks was Probably I was in another country and it was like a year and a half ago. So that just goes to tell you, like, I'm not the biggest fan, to be honest with you, of their well, first of all, like almost everything there is just a giant ball of sugar, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like, you can just get coffee there, but why would you? Regular coffee is never worth what they charge for it, and what they give you is
Dude,
not necessarily the best black coffee that exists at all. So
I have a story from this week, some real due diligence, and this is what partially set me off this week. So I've been doing Tim Hortons a lot more recently because the app and everything I mentioned, but I go to Starbucks this week and I get my normal coffee order and it's fucking $5.17. And this is my order. It's just a large coffee. I get cream, sugar, vanilla in it. That's it. Fucking $5.17. Now they might have overcharged me. I don't know. Because usually it's like $3.40. But I was so pissed off, dude. I could have gone to like Tim Hortons, Dunkin' Donuts, any one of these places. I could have got like 2 or 3 donuts and a largest coffee they have there, and I'd probably it'd be $4. It's obnoxious. And then I think I mentioned, oh no, so I mentioned earlier this week, I think there should be Starbucks should add donuts to the menu. I think that'd be a really good addition. Like they should have like the display of like donuts. Who wouldn't want to buy that, right? They apparently already do have a classic donut, and I'm not kidding you, it's $4.70.
for one donut.
For one donut, it's 300 calories. Like, who the fuck is? I'm sorry. No, they just gotta like. I'm losing faith in Starbucks. I'm sorry, everybody. Call me a bandwagon. Call me whatever you want. It's just like obnoxious at this point, and they gotta really cut prices.
Hey, to your credit, like it takes it takes a lot of honesty to look at something that you've been like really invested in and like actually reconsider and reevaluate and become, to be
Yeah.
skeptical. It's healthy to be somewhat skeptical. Yeah.
So would you cut prices, or how would you go about doing it if you were the CEO?
So it seems from what I've read in the past that getting customers through the door is one of the things that they're having a hard time figuring out how to do again. And I definitely think they probably they might be able to entice more people in if they either offered better like deals, of some kind of special, some kind of deal, some kind of thing on their app, or if they just kind of across the board, like, inch some prices down and see what brings, do try to like right size the prices, to optimize like how many customers are we getting versus how much can we make off of each customer. There's always a sweet spot when it comes to pricing, and I'm not sure that I believe they're in the sweet spot.
So, yeah, I think another thing that I would definitely do is try and reevaluate the food part of the menu and like reinvent that. I think the food sucks. I think it's kind of obviously the money here is like the drinks and stuff that they sell, but nobody wants to get food from there. It just seems nasty and overpriced. I'll be honest. If I were them, what I would do is I'm reinventing the food segment. I'm adding donuts to the menu. I'm getting, I don't know, fresher, better ingredients or like stuff that looks more appealing. Yeah. Charging less on it and just like, yeah, that's what I do. Right now, by the way, the food makes up 17.8% of the revenue. So I think there's definitely growth to be had there.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility that they could, have some kind of offering that's like kind of like a bit of a doorbuster that they put front and center to like get people coming in and trying things. And because like grocery stores do that all the time, where they'll advertise like 1 or 2 items that they've got like really cheap that week, and it gets you in, and then you end up picking up all the other stuff you are low on while you're there, and that's where they make back the money. They could do something similar where it's like, hey, like come in and try this new thing we've got for like $2. Oh wow, that's pretty reasonable. And then while you're there, it's like, I could also go for a this or a that.
Yeah,
and that's where they would actually make their money on the people who get I mean, Subway actually did that for the longest time, right? They weren't making much on the $5 foot longs, but like anytime somebody like would add like a drink and a cookie, then they'd suddenly be printing money on it. But you've got to have that like that flagship special thing that's priced low enough to entice people in the door first. But then again,
I think they
what do you think about I mean, I've heard this argument on the opposite side, like to play devil's advocate against what I'm saying here. I've heard people say that like some people view picking up your Starbies every day is like kind of like a status thing, sort of like how an iPhone is viewed as a status thing instead of an Android.
I don't think so. That's like that's something
you don't think people view like showing up with their Starbucks cup is like a status thing?
Me personally, I could never care that much, but I mean, maybe some people.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I can't think of any other like actual reason why somebody would spend that much for what you get there.
Addiction. It's addiction.
Well,
humans are psychologically addicted to routines. When somebody gets Starbucks once every Thursday morning, they come home, they enjoy their Starbucks, they want to do it again.
Interesting. It's just because like, hey, I can be addicted to coffee at home and feed the addiction for a fraction of the price.
It only takes one cigarette to get hooked on them.
True. Yeah. Speaking of that, BTI's up today.
Our tobacco stocks are they're heating up.
Yeah, at least something's up.
Yeah. Last thing that I wanted to talk about today is while we're on the topic of gambling this week, DraftKings stock. Would that ever intrigue you?
At the right price, sure. I'll
look up some valuation.
I need to look at that because I mean, obviously, the fact that it doesn't have a quote unquote PE doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad deal. Because you can look under the surface and see, do they have operating cash flow or do they have
they're negative free cash flow, not bullish right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to look into why that is. Is it trending in the right direction? Is there like a lot of CapEx that they've got a specific plan for? Yeah. Is that going to come down? Is possibly the PE, like the net income, negative because of stock-based compensation? Do they plan to get that down? There's a lot of things that it could be. So yeah. But I do think, gambling is definitely pretty addictive. And
really,
if they've figured out how to entice enough people into their ecosystem there on DraftKings, I could see how they could be profitable. You get the people who habitually, bet on their fantasy sports and all that, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah, if I'm not back on the cash flow Kings next weekend, I jumped off the top balcony of the hotel because I lost at blackjack. That's what it was, everybody. The $15 hands go by pretty fast, so Brian doesn't come on the cash flow Kings next week. That's why. Hey, maybe if I win, we'll have enough money to pay for the new StreamYard subscription come March.
Maybe, if we're lucky.
It's a big maybe. Big maybe. All right, we appreciate you all for watching. Tune in next week. We're going to have a special guest on. You'll have to stay tuned to see who it is throughout the week. But thank you all for watching. Smash the like button, subscribe, become a channel member today for only $2 a month. And, of course, do dividend stocks, out drugs, and cash flow is king. Oh, yeah.